You can find the product featured in today's video and so much more at Dan's Dinosaurs. Follow the link in the description below to peruse his expansive selection of all things dinosaur model and figure related. Should you choose to order anything from his site, feel free to mention in the comment box at checkout that your friend Killershrewfan sent you. Now, on to the review. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Killershrewfan's 12 Days of Reviews. We all know the holidays are a time for celebration. We gather with family and friends and reflect on memories past while making all new ones. We also celebrate the year and all the new adventures and accomplishments that came with it. And perhaps one of the greatest achievements of 2022 in the world of dinosaurs was Apple TV's Prehistoric Planet. Here was a new pinnacle of dinosaur documentaries featuring stunning landscape photography, the legendary David Attenborough narrating, and perhaps most importantly, photorealistic and scientifically updated dinosaur stars behaving as any real animal would. It was truly one of the highlights of the year for us dinosaur fans, and I say one because a few months down the line, PNSO would give us this, Jacques the Deinocheirus. Whether or not its appearance in Prehistoric Planet prompted them to produce this model, who's to say? But regardless, it was certainly cause for celebration, and as such makes for a perfect subject for Killershrewfan's 12 Days of Reviews. So taking a closer look at this rather odd duck, you can see that the head sculpt does a good job capturing the look of Deinocheirus, with the thicker, slightly downturned mandible and thin beak with a flared spoonbill-esque tip and raised nostrils. The eyes are also positioned high on the head and painted with a blue sclera and orange iris. I will admit that this color combination for the eyes did throw me when I first saw the figure revealed, but I'm surprised how little I question it when in hand. The jaw is articulated, opening to reveal a wide pink tongue seated in a toothless bill, and this also exposes the fleshy pseudo-cheeks. Unfortunately, there is the interruption between the cheeks that I know drives some collectors bonkers, so perhaps a half-opened or fully closed position for display is best for some. Moving from the head into the neck, you can see beautiful wrinkles of naked bird-like skin stretching and sagging across the underlying muscle tones of the neck, all of which has been painted in a striking blue tone that puts me in mind of a cassowary. This area of the sculpt is left mostly unfeathered as the neck is a good area for heat dissipation, but it does sport a mohawk of downy feathers that run down the back of the neck and grows in length as you approach the midsection. I almost wish for some color variation to help separate the feathers from the skin. It kind of just looks like lumpy flesh otherwise, but then again, a stark contrast in the feathers may have made the mohawk look a little silly. The midsection and iconic hump of Deinocheirus is then covered in a thick coat of shaggy hair-like feathers that run across the dorsal region and hang downwards over the flank. As you move onto those famous arms, you'll see how the simple downy feathers transition beautifully into more complex pennaceous feathers. The details on these are amazing, and I love the slight downward curve to them as they fan out from the arm and sag in a slight curve beneath their weight. The namesake of Deinocheirus, those terrible hands, can be seen peeking out from behind that wall of feathers. The backs of the fingers have been covered in large plate scales, and the claws themselves are painted in a mix of convincing colors. Beneath the covering of feathers, you can see the detail work on the palms and exposed muscle tones of the bare forearms and biceps. The hind limbs are only partly covered with feathers, with parts of the thigh and bulging calves exposed and covered in the same running lines of wrinkled skin we see on the neck. You have also got some nice tension lines there that form with the rotation of the right leg away from the torso. The feet are glorious. The toes are backed with tarsal scutes and smaller reticulate scales, and then tipped with broad dull claws. A mix of gray paint with a dusty wash brings out all of that sculpted detail and makes for a very lifelike appearance that puts me in mind of rat-eyed feet. Moving from the body, you can see the tail is also mostly covered in the feather filaments as you feed down into another very impressive feature of this figure. Deinocheirus did possess a pygostyle. Pygostyle? Pygostyle. Is that? Whatever. A structure that may have supported a display in the tail, we'll put it that way, which suggests the tail itself did sport a display of some sort, here envisioned quite fantastically as a wide fan of more pennaceous feathers that once again sag downwards under their weight. And is that not an eye-catching addition to this figure, or what? The underside of the animal is covered in bunches of skin folds that cross the tail and stretch around the pubic boot, which also sports the cloaca. Like the neck and legs, the underside is mostly naked, as you can see, but you have got twin happy trails that run parallel to each other down from the neck and across the swell of the gut. Jacques has been sculpted mid-stride, arms held bent, while the neck and head turn gracefully over the left shoulder and the tail sweeps back behind him. It's a nice, active pose, but I do heavily encourage the use of the included acrylic stand for prolonged stability. He's very front heavy. I know this is a bone of contention for some, as the plastic rod can disrupt the display of figures, but the impressive wings of this Deinocheirus do disguise it from view, so you don't have to worry about it ruining the display too much. Plus, come on, this looks so good you're not even gonna notice that stand. Look at this thing! And that's the sculpt of this Deinocheirus. And even by PNSO standards, I find it impressive. That being said, there has been some discourse as of late discussing the viability of this extent of feathering on large-bodied coelurosaurs and what may or may not be more reasonable amounts of feathery coating. The big reason being that heavy coats aren't needed to maintain body temperatures in large animals, and such a shaggy covering could actually lead to overheating in such a massive beast. Once again, I highly recommend Mark Witten's discussion on this topic, as he gives a very insightful overview to the arguments at hand, and even features our friend Deinocheirus in his discussion. Of course, the question of overheating could be assuaged if you spent a lot of your time in or around water, as Deinocheirus most certainly did, but either way, naked lizard duck or walking haystack, I will have nothing but love for this critter. As far as the paint job goes, this is another wonderful aspect of the piece, given its vibrant presentation and markings. Something we often miss from PNSO. We already mentioned the eye-catching blue of the neck, but the rest of the figure is equally pleasing to look at, with a mix of mottled grays, creams, and yellows used to color the feathers and mark the tail. The fan even features more blue highlights along the gray stripes, tying it into the opposite side of the figure and adding to its function as a display structure. Meanwhile, the naked underside has been colored in a peachy flesh tone that transitions down into the grays of the feet. It's a lovely color palette that augments an already strong sculpt, and one that I'm sure will stand out on your shelves. As far as the size of the figure goes, in a straight measurement, you're looking at just under 11 inches long, or around 27 centimeters, and then it stands at 4.5 inches or 11.5 centimeters off the ground at the height of that hump back. Now, Deinocheirus is estimated to be between 33 and 36 feet long, and if you measure along the curve of the spine, you'd see this figure reaches about 11.8 inches or 30 centimeters, which would put it nicely in that 1/35 scale for a 34.5 foot specimen. Now for some size comparisons. First up, the only other Deinocheirus I own. This is of course Safari Ltd's offering from a few years back. A good figure that I didn't appreciate enough until later on, but not quite big enough to scratch my Deinocheirus itch. Next up, we'll bring in a Therizinosaurus. This is of course Papo's offering, and I know PNSO have released one of these, but I am still waiting on mine to show up, so Until then, this will just have to do. And now for some other PNSO comparisons. First up we have the alarming lizard, PNSO's Tarbosaurus, and these two would have certainly encountered one another in life, so it's great to have them here together and in scale with one another no less. I gotta say, they play off of each other really well and make for one awesome duo. And while we're talking about Tyrannosaurs, here it is with Wilson the T-Rex, and Attenborough wasn't kidding when he said Deinocheirus is taller than T-Rex, as illustrated here. And finally, here it is with Eutyrannus, PNSO's only other feathered figure in their prehistoric animal range, and I gotta say, it's nice to see them doing more like this. They are very good at it. Please do more. And that was...
What are you doing in my swamp?
Uh-oh, looks like this Deinocheirus was foraging in the wrong swamp, because he's got the attention of our good friend 135 scale Shrek. Alright, that's enough out of you. See you next time. And that was PNSO's new for 2022 Deinocheirus Jacques, and I could not be happier with this thing. A great sculpt and killer paint job on one of the coolest dinosaurs that PNSO has done yet make this not only one of their best to date, but one of the best dinosaur figures out there, period. Dynamite with a roaring seal of approval. But as always, I want to know what you guys think of this figure. Do you own it yet? Are you planning to pick it up? What has been your favorite feathered friend from PNSO so far, and what would you like to see them do next? Drop a comment down below, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Killershrewfan's 12 Days of Reviews. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all again tomorrow in the bull ring. Until then, take care out there, and bye-bye.